I got no regret right now.
I'm feeling this.
The air is so cold and low.
I'm feeling this.
Let me go in her room.
I'm feeling this.
I want to take off her clothes.
I'm feeling this.
Show me the way to bed.
I'm feeling this.
Show me the way you move.
I'm feeling this.
Fucking, it's such a blur.
I'm feeling
I love all the
this.
things you do.
I'm feeling this.
Fate fell short this time. Your smile fades in the summer. Place your hand in mine. I'll leave when I wanna. Welcome back to Rewind with bschwitty, because I'll use my trusty frying pan as a drying pan. Today, I was writing an episode on wine flaws, and then remembered I did an episode on wine flaws in season 1. And since I clearly, again, ran out of time this week to do an educational episode, I just got home from softball. Things are still running a little bit behind here at Rewind Inc., but I promise we'll get back to it next week. And Friday we have something fun planned just as well. And since I can't go over literally almost everything that I was going to cover, except for I dropped Britannomyces out of the last episode we should watch my first episode on wine flaws.
Instead of just focusing on one fault, we're going to cover 6 major wine faults that you can find in wine.
Except for Britannomyces. Also, the thing that spurred this is I was online and reading some terrible article on Gawker about how all of California's wines are ruined because of smoke taints. And, well, not all of California wines are ruined by fires and smoke taints. And only parts of Napa and Sonoma have been affected in the 2020 harvest. So, good. California's a large state, and let's be honest, it's not like.
Start with cork wine, which we already focused on.
It's not entirely
wine myth
under a cloud of smoke. Parts of the wine countries have been under smoke, and parts of those wineries that get grapes from those vineyards have been affected, and that's terrible. But California wine,
known as TCA
in general, is still safe.
Or 2, 4, or 6.
So we talked about cork taint.
Is a wine fault.
I think he said
like either wet cardboard, wet dog, sometimes just musty.
Fun story about corked wines is that, like, when I used to work for a winery, sometimes we would go into the tasting room after it closed, and we'd try some of the wines from behind the bar, and it's just like, this wine is corked. Why have you been pouring it? And they're like, I don't know, but we sold 3 times the amount of bottles usual.
It goes at a
so it's
yeah.
People sometimes like that wet cardboard taste.
Will gladly,
because it's so unique. Because it's a flaw, and your wine shouldn't taste like wet cardboard. If your wine tastes like wet cardboard, do what younger me is telling you to do and take it back to where you got it from.
And then you taste it. It's corked, but it's slightly corked. There are degrees to which corked wines can present themselves, but regardless, the entire wine is infected with the taint. And
he said taint.
Yeah, it's once you pass a certain ppm, you are highly susceptible to the smell or the taste. Moving on. Wine. Also known as mercaptans.
Mercaptans.
They smell like garlic, or cabbage, or sometimes natural gas smell. And it happens when there's not enough oxygen in the bottle. And all you have to do to fix that is
aerate your wine.
Decant it. You take your wine, you throw it in a decanter, give it some oxygen. I mean, even just in the glass, a little swirling will help blow off those mercaptans and
mercaptan. Yeah. So
present itself. Honestly,
if you're spelling a reduced wine,
across too many reduced wines in my time
just
of
let
drinking.
the wine open up.
This has only been
decant. This is time to pull out your aerator. People that are obsessive about using aerators on wine.
Almost 8. So decanting should fix your problem. It should blow off. Don't worry about it too much. Oxidized wines, on the other hand, also known as Maderized, which is a process used in the Madeira wine production, which gives it a sherry-like quality. Oxidized wines will smell flat,
So
have like a brownish color to them.
what I wanted to focus on when I was writing my episode for Wine Flaws, not the one that we're currently watching, is that I wanted to talk about how wine flaws are sometimes in other regions considered um, a part of the wine. Like, for example, that example, Madeira, their wines have kind of an oxidized
And most likely it's
component to it, and that's what made their wines their wines.
luck. Unless you just bought the wine, you could take it back and say, "Hey, this is oxidized. Can I get another bottle?"
My point being is that
Something.
the
But
the wanting to do this episode stemmed from a comment of a woman that's like, I was in Napa after the fires in 2002, and I bought a white wine that had smoke taint in it, and the winery that I bought it from was
light
advocating how good the smoke taint was. And I was like, well, you've clearly been duped by the winery to buy something that they would have thrown away.
ultraviolet.
But at the same time, if you liked it, if your palate enjoys that smokiness on a white wine, that is all for you. But at the same time, the article was talking like the levels of smoke taint are much higher than just like
Light.
probably the fraction amount that they had in the wine that they enjoyed, so that it tasted more like an ashtray than just
Yeah.
a little smokiness on the white wine to make it unique.
I mean, I'm sure this is getting
Back to
solution.
this guy here, light damage.
This problem is don't buy or avoid shelf-aged bottles. So
Yeah, avoid all the wine that's just sitting out in the light behind me.
Chardonnay at the grocery store looks
But-
like it's been sitting out
At the same time,
lights for too long. You might want to
this will happen to more bottles that have clear glass. The light damage, because the green tint glass is supposed to keep light from getting in and creating that light damage.
wine. It's
Cooked wine is
it's
when you leave it in your car for a while,
it deteriorates quickly
or
2 degrees Fahrenheit.
when you leave it in too much heat.
Fahrenheit, which is why I'm concerned. Some of my wine might not.
He's concerned.
Heat wave.
That mountain's still there. We're working on it. We're down 4 cases since I've restarted Rewind.
Or centigrade.
4 official cases. I think I've gotten through like another 2 of the ones that you don't see back there, which is even crazier.
Cooked. There's caramelization and cooked fruits notes on the.
While that sounds delicious,
It'll taste
not what you want.
It'll have no nuance to it. There's no beginning, middle, end.
nuance to it.
And sometimes can cause browning. So, and that's not to be confused with like older wines or just
Remember when I used to drink while I did these Wednesday episodes?
it's that. There's nothing fun.
If you want me to drink, let me know in the comments below. I can appease you. This is like us having a glass of wine. I
Wine in a
had a beer earlier.
temperatured area, and don't leave your wine in your car's trunk for too long. That's definitely,
We won our softball game.
especially when you're out tasting.
Go
and
team.
outside, just you got to be careful.
Bat and bougie.
Finally, the sixth fault we're going to talk about is effervescence. And now this isn't effervescence like in a sparkling wine because that's supposed to be there. Effervescence in a still wine is technically a fault. Spritz and bubbles is another term.
You don't want bubbly still wine because technically, by definition, still wine doesn't have bubbles.
In all still wine, all non-sparkling wine, if there's like a fizz or a bubbliness to it, it means that they went through a
Secondary fermentation.
and third fermentation while in bottle, which results in the fizziness, and then
Which, again, some people like. And if you like that,
haze,
good on you. It's still a flaw,
yeast,
but you know what you like, and then you would know in the future what to actually look for
fermentation process
a wine
while in bottle.
that should be effervescent.
Solution to that is, it's
Pro tip:
it's
if you like effervescent wines, usually they have a champagne-style cork and a cage around it.
so maybe you could take it back and say, hey, this is kind of fizzy. Was it supposed to do that? Otherwise, all right.
I still do that.
Those are some wine faults. Are there any other wine faults that I didn't cover?
Yes, Brettanomyces, please.
Below.
And smoke taint. You didn't cover smoke taint. Those are the two things that I was going to do an episode on.
Stuff that we.
So clearly, we now need to, not this episode, since I've already run a little bit longer than I was hoping to, but next week's episode most likely will be on Wine Flaws Part 2, not to be confused with Wine Flaws Redux. So Part 2 will be next week. Stick with me. Thank you for watching this episode of Rewind. You know you can find me here on YouTube by going to rewindshow.com. Make sure you hit the subscribe button while you're here and leave a comment, a like, share it with your friends, and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can also find me on Instagram by going to @RewindShow, where 10-minute episodes or shorter get uploaded to IGTV, along with some extra content. You can always find me on Twitter, where that extra content goes as well, if I remember to post it, by going to @bschwitty. This has been Rewind. My name is bschwitty, and I will catch you on Friday for a wine burger.